Ford EcoSport is considered as the OG when you think of the subcompact SUV segment, which is extremely popular these days in India. It's been a while since we've received any major significant update for the EcoSport from Ford. And if you see the vehicle behind me, you probably wouldn't realize that this is actually a brand new variant. But if I stand about here and recompose the shot a little, the silhouette is a little bit different. This is the newly introduced Ford EcoSport SE. While nothing has changed from the front, it drops the tailgate mounted spare wheel for this new look. Of course, if you prefer the old school off-roader look with the spare wheel, you can still have it with the standard model. This new version, however, has been on sale internationally for a while, but now with the new regulations, not requiring a spare wheel for cars in India, with a few caveats, it allows Ford to also introduce the SE and test out the waters on our shores. Now, as the spare wheel has been removed entirely, the number plate has now been positioned in the middle of the tailgate like so. The rear bumper has been revised with this new look and this faux skid plate. There is a new SE badge, of course, and you also get this rear windscreen wiper here. However, to open the boot, it's still the same old mechanism hidden in the tail lamp, which still opens like so. Now, when you open the door, you're greeted with the exact same boot as before. And if you look underneath the floor mat, there still isn't a spare wheel. Now, that is because recently last year, the Indian government released a notification saying that if a car is sold with these 3 features, then you do not need a 5th wheel. 3 features including tubeless tires, tire pressure monitors, and this, a tire repair kit. The 4-wheel with repair kit law has been introduced because 1. All cars these days are equipped with tubeless tires, which means you can still drive them for a certain distance with a slow puncture. The tire pressure monitors will of course warn you if you're running low. But the main reason is because weight reduction. The spare wheel are in most cases not needed as much anymore with tubeless tires. Thus, you don't really have to lug it around. With the weight reduced, it directly transfers into improved fuel economy. The lighter the vehicle, the less effort required to move it from the engine, which would result in improved fuel economy. Of course, you're not going to notice a huge amount of improvement in fuel economy right off the gate, but when you accumulate the numbers in the long run, it can make a recognizable difference. Let's check out what's new in the cabin before we begin to drive. The interior looks dated against most modern rivals, but not by much. It still looks like from yesterday rather than last generation. Space and tech is just the same as it has been with the EcoSport model, and it is similarly equipped as well. A nice big touchscreen with Ford Sync 3 and Apple CarPlay sits right on top of the dash. You get the same steering wheel, analog dials. It's pretty much 2018 inside. However, you don't get grab handles like the modern Fords thanks to the multiple airbags positioned in the headliner. If at the back you want some added sense of security, just wear your seatbelts. Also, there are no AC vents at the rear, but the AC unit from Fords have largely been quite powerful. So for a vehicle of its size, you're unlikely to miss it. The accents on the trim and upholstery could have been offered in a better shade instead of this hue of beige. But overall, one wouldn't complain much when inside the cabin. You of course get the highly coveted sunroof as well. Now, everything in terms of driving dynamics is just the same as before. We're driving the petrol model, of course, right now. So it is a 3-cylinder unit. It's naturally aspirated. The NVH is visible to some extent, I will admit, but it is fairly refined. It drives pretty much the same as before, like I said. Suspension is on the firmer side, but that is there for stability. The engine itself has decent amount of grunt, and especially in the mid-range there is a lot of torque, so you can pull through without changing gear in most cases. Even the certified fuel economy, for that matter, figures stand the same for the SE with 15.9 kpl for the petrol and 21.7 for the diesel. Right now, because we have been pushing it for the shots and we have been idling for a really long time, it's indicating about 10, but I'm sure we're getting a little bit higher than that at the moment. More importantly, the change in this car is the lack of the spare wheel. Without it, it honestly hasn't changed the driving, of course, because there's just nothing to change. However, the rear visibility, I feel, is a little bit better because you don't see the top of the spare wheel anymore in the rear view mirrors. And secondly, when you're reversing and parking, it is slightly easier because there isn't a spare wheel at the back protruding from the back, and the reversing camera is now mounted a little higher, so you get a better field of view, so it makes it easier to park and drive in reverse. Now, price-wise, the EcoSport SE is a touch lower compared to the top spec EcoSport S model with the spare wheel. The SE petrol is priced at 10.5 lakh ex-showroom, while the diesel costs around 11 lakh rupees, ex-showroom of course, make it around 50,000 rupees cheaper. While that is a decent amount of price drop, the EcoSport created a segment which it now finds itself difficult to stay updated with in light of the competition. Now, with the spare wheel, the EcoSport has an old school off-roader SUV vibe and that classic SUV silhouette. Without it, it is in line with the same popular crossover trend. I personally prefer the one with the spare wheel, but tell us what you think of this new variant. Do you prefer the EcoSport with the wheel or without in this SE variant? Let us know in the comment section below, and of course, like, share, subscribe, comment, and hit the bell icon and all that stuff. And I'll see you next time.